This is part 2 of my conversation with Saahil Goel of Shiprocket. In part 1, we walked the road from 2011, 3 companies, the investor ultimatum, and the capital it took to build. Part 2 is the mind. We start with that, given hindsight, what he'd do differently. Then, the first principles he runs the company on, the 2 or 3 metrics he genuinely obsesses over, who does and doesn't survive at Shiprocket, the guitar he still plays, and the question I close every episode with, which he answers with a single number. Let's get back into it. If you were to kind of look back at your career, specifically, since the time that you started Cart Rocket and its evolutions, is what would you do differently with the benefit of hindsight?
See, I think we ended up spending, couple of learnings, right? One is that I got too caught, Gautam and all of us got too caught up sometimes in the vision. We still do, to be honest, right? This is how it should be. Sure, but that's the end state. Right, and you'll get frustrated if you don't see yourself moving towards the end state, and then you tend to give up, or you tend to leave the simple things in front of you, right? So I think that to me is like, you know what, you set the vision, then forget about it. Then only focus on doing every day, right? Or otherwise you might.
Sure. Is that the difference between setting an ambitious vision and working backwards from it versus working forwards from what is available right now?
All three are important, Rohin. So you need to have a big enough vision, I guess. So you're always motivated and excited every day. You got to look. There has to be that thing to look forward. Like you have to be able to.
What is that for Shiprocket
for us,
today?
I told you, for us from day one, it was literally Gautam and I looking at, in a market, looking at 100 shops around us, saying each of these should go online. And if there is any transaction happening in India outside the marketplace, we should be making 1 paisa. We should be playing a role, right? So vision is
So your vision is to be involved in every single transaction outside of
60 million MSMEs exist in India. We want to power each of them, right? And it is not a mutually exclusive from the marketplaces, from retail, from quick. Is not none of it exclusive. Today we power fulfillment into quick commerce like Zepto, Blinkit, Instamart for several hundred brands, right? From our warehouses. Right? So it's like, I'm not saying don't go and sell there. I'm saying I am your operating system as a merchant. So use us to be able to run your business, right? And that means every and anything from insurance all the way to returns, right?
Got it. How did you deal with the years before the Shiprocket pivot, when there were these years when things didn't take off, money ran out, etc. and stuff like that?
Not good, yeah. To be honest, I mean, it felt quite. We were quite happy, but we were not success. Like when you have nothing to lose,
were you happy?
Because we had nothing to lose and we were enjoying ourselves, right? And there were bad days too, right? There were days like we wanted to throw in the towel. Like we heard all those stories. It's true for everyone.
Young, these are the best years of your life. Why do you say that you are happy because you had nothing to lose? One could always somebody else might look at that like, I could have done so much. I could have been this thing. Why was it different for you?
Okay, this comes from our own reflections. Like when the founder, like when Gautam, I, Akshay, Vishesh, when we talk back and we think to, somehow we felt less tensed in those days, right? And why? Well, you had nothing to lose, right? When you have nothing to lose, you're able to make something. When you have something to lose, you start getting baggage, right? So I think it's something to learn from. That, okay, well, how do you keep not having baggage? Because it'll slow you down, or it'll start, fear starts creeping in. And you have to watch out for that. So luckily we've been on both, like on the deep end of the I don't know. I don't want to say gadda, but we were kind of there in the hole, right? So you kind of get your roots right, and I think it's helped us in that sense, right? So I don't think I will change much. I do think that over obsession with the vision sometimes has cost us time. I wish I had made some other decisions earlier, right? And I think that trying to do too many things at one time is again a bad, kind of connected point, but it's a bad idea because you don't have the resource or the timing or the execution or the sequencing. So it's a very high chance of failure, right? You're much better off picking one very small part and really making gold out of it till you say, okay, I'm going to now, expand this and deteriorate to gold miners and then expand it even more and make it silver. Then let me make the next gold offering. So I wish somebody told me, right? Because no one told me. I said, no, you got to make everything gold. Okay.
Got it.
With no money, right? So how do you do it?
All right. If we dissected Shiprocket's success and scale today and tried to kind of reverse distill it into a set of principles, what would those look like?
So I'll like, there's been many, right? Because we've been around for 14 years and we've had our phases to help us think through, what's happening to us or what's happening to the market. But if I was to do a common sort of theme, or at least something that I continue to operate on, right? And I'm a big believer in first principles. My early mentors, etc., have been kind enough to help us think through what might happen. So I think the framework that way has been helpful. And I believe that like with AI, a lot of what we end up planning today ends up being based on first principles. You can't help it. It's changing so fast that there is no way to be able to make a prediction, right?
What are those first principles?
So, for example, when I think about our business, right, I realize that distribution is, or any business in technology, actually any business, distribution will trump product any day, right? You, without naming names, but if you look at MS Teams versus Zoom, anybody's use both, you have the answer, right? And Teams is like double Zoom's market share or whatever. They were not the innovator, right? They don't have the best product, but they are double or whatever more because they've got distribution, right? So earlier you still had a moat because building was hard. Today building is collapsed to nothing. My son and I can write the same prompt on Claude and end up with the same thing. My son is 8, right? So in this kind of world, then what's the moat? Like how are you different from the next guy? If they can whip up a software, somebody can whip up a Shiprocket type software by integrating all the APIs. In our case, two things. One is that, so that's one, right? How do you continuously think about strategic decisions in your business, like in terms of what you do and don't do. The other one, so that's one important one for us, which is saying, okay, what is my moat, right? And we have learned that moat comes from distribution first and then having something others don't have later, which in our case is data, right? So we sit on some 150 million plus consumers, three orders a year roughly. So tons of information that we're able to capture, right? And same thing on the courier side, like who's doing better, worse. Same thing on the merchant side, right? So the ton of commerce graph that is getting created, which is a real moat, because if in the future somebody wanted to do a shipping transaction, sure, you can integrate the API, but like we did that 10 years ago, that didn't work. What worked was our ops chops on top of it, our custom kind of engine on saying, no, let's do this in this case, our orchestration with 3 or more partners that you just can't do. So the moat got built in India for us very early because the software never sold. So AI is disrupting software. Sure, India got disrupted way back because we never bought software. So AI is not disrupting software in India. That's why, at least in SME. So I think our first principle realization that came from there are many, right? But one of the things was that if we stay clear to only these 2 things, right, which is data and distribution, in our business model, there is always going to be room for us to do more and more and more, right? The second one I think is very clear for SME. For us is, only capture value when you create it. So this again is a hard one for many investors, saying, who are you competing with? And we're like, nothing. We're competing with potential of someone to do something because, or what is the market size? The market size is, if somebody can think of an idea, just because I don't do the whole thing today, you can't imagine it. But in my head, right, if they can think of an idea, I can help them with sourcing in the future, help them with payments, and I do payments now through checkout. I can help them with fulfillment and return. So I've already, and ads, right? So I've got the whole thing. So what is the market size of an idea? There's no market size of somebody's will to do something, right? It's a matter of time when all of these things become real. It's a matter of time when like every business is e-commerce. Like it's, today I know it's hard to think this, but I'm telling you in the next 5 years, when a new business gets formed, right? It is not going to be that, okay, let me set up my store, offline shop, and then I'll set up an e-commerce store. It'll be part of the stack. Like you will need to have an e-commerce store because consumers will want to buy from your store. They will want to buy online. They want to buy on Instagram. They want to buy on WhatsApp. They want to buy everywhere. And you're going to be there as a brand. So when a future can be so transformative, what are your principles that keep you, I guess, that you don't have to change every year because it takes a long time to. So I think this was our big one, that okay, you capture value when you create it, which means that if a merchant uses our checkout, they get a 20% uplift. Great, that's when I make a percent, right? If I charge them money and then they don't sell, they'll just churn and lead to a depleting business, which is what we did for the first half of our company's career. Second half of our company's career, we have growing cohorts, because the way it's designed is that, hey, if you don't do well, I'll give you better service, I'll give you more stuff. You can still fail, which is going to happen a bunch of times. For the ones who do well, I get to grow with them. Not only do we end up buying more things, we end up doing more quantities of transactions, and just results in more money for the company, which again lets us give them more offerings, and that's kind of how the flywheel goes.
Got it.
So I think create value means, okay, when they make money or save money, we'll make money. And I think we are very clear about that. So every offering you see in the company is entirely consumption based. Sometimes, people say it would be great if you had monthly revenues. And it's unfortunately a myopic statement, because you're looking at only the revenue. What you're not realizing is that ultimately that's a bleeding model, because the amount of CAC you'll take to sell that subscription, you're better off just giving it away, right? And then monetizing somewhere where it's palatable for the customer. And it's just the way it is in India. And I think that just those two things alone, I think have kept us quite focused. And I think it's going to be the way we do things. I don't think we are having to change that as such in terms of principles.
Got it. As CEO, what are the metrics that you obsess over, if you had to reduce them down to 2 or 3, that you're always paranoid about or looking at or hopeful about, whichever?
See, I think number of active merchants is my North Star. It is actually, of course, transactions is a financial metric, but number of actives is telling me that, because I told you my vision was not transactions or revenue. It was to get every merchant, right, under the hood. So that continues to be the main thing I track. And then that informs my strategy that, okay, like with AI now, earlier what was my limitation, Rohin, that there are like Kirana shops, let's say, in the 60 million merchants. There is then the glass door merchants, which are slightly, let's say, higher margin, clothes, stationery, whatever, right?
Those are called glass door merchants.
Yeah, so they have a glass door,
they have a glass
which
door.
means that they can afford an AC.
That's right.
Which means that they have margins, which means that they're okay for us to go after. Right? So about 5 million of them. Then you've got all this like 5 million odd, 2 to 5 million, depending on who you look at. Social sellers, right? Could be offline store, could be boutique shop, but also could be just online, right? Lots of people like that. Then you've got a couple of 100,000 websites, right? Including mini marketplaces. So this is like a stack. We went out to the website first, because that's where the offering could immediately connect. But the vision ultimately is to be able to power all of this, right? Whether it's discovery and demand tools, whether it is payments and checkout, or whether it is fulfillment and shipping. And slowly and steadily, each of these segments, we've got some users now. So user to me is the big North Star, right? NPS ends up being the next one. NPS, CSAT, whatever metric I'm looking at, because again, these are all the key inputs to the real outputs. So rather than measuring the outputs where I've got 100 eyes on them, these end up being my 2 key things. That, okay, how many merchants are there? What's the NPS? Rather than looking at retention, because see, retention is a function of this. So I would rather focus on the inputs as much as possible, right? And then see the double clicks, obviously, cuts and whatnot within those 2 metrics. And then of course you look at financials, because it's the easy thing to do.
Got it.
But these 2 end up being my North Star key metrics.
What does your typical workday look like?
It's interesting because I'm able to make it what I want it to be, and I've tried various combinations and various kind of things to keep it exciting. And at the moment, it's basically diving into things that need solving rather than trying to manage at a distance or manage at all, because the team honestly is able to manage, right? True value add comes from the advantage I have in terms of visibility and improving, figuring out where things are stuck essentially. And then I can zoom in and zoom out every week onto one big problem. I'm finding that to add the most value to the company. Second, I'm kind of trying to push hard on AI. Right? I have been for the last 1 year, and now spending even more time kind of really top down pushing all kinds of initiatives and projects, and sometimes actually doing the projects as well, to get the company quickly into the AI native phase as much as possible, as soon as possible. Because the opportunity is absurdly large when I think about SME, technology and AI, right? Because now every small business, right? Some shop owner, they need tools to make call. Like there's so much happening in the AI world. And the same Eureka, the same thing is again, right? Okay, there's technology. These are not very left behind. I can aggregate millions of them and I have distribution and brand and I'm able to. So we are now thinking of the next evolution of the company where we're saying, okay, we did e-commerce enablement using the tools and technology of the past. We built a lot of engineering rails. We built a lot of data intelligence and we made this engine go. Now with like a 10x capability in tools and technology, what is the next TAM for the company and what is the next offering? Like how does this change what we've been doing, right? Essentially. So those are the two big questions I'm asking myself, saying, okay, is it time for me to get to the next million merchants now? Because earlier I couldn't onboard them. There's different languages. Oh, the user interface won't make sense, because we used to debate this a lot in the company that, boss, we have this long tail guy, then we've got this middle, and then we've got enterprise. Enterprise wants all these things. This guy, so let's make 3 dashboards. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like it's a bad idea, right? It's a very bad idea. But how do you solve it? So in the past, we've kind of made our way, we'll profile the person, then the interface will go. Now, with the new agentic interfaces and calling and whatnot, just the fact that unstructured becomes structured for my market, like for my industry alone, is the key unlock. Saying, okay, voice can be data. So a guy can be sitting on a shop counter and say, ki, Jahangir Puri ki gaadi bhej do. Correct? And that can very well hit an API and create an order and close the loop, right? Because I have the guy registered, I know the pickup address, I know the phone number, I can orchestrate a gaadi or whatever truck for the guy or a bike, right? So, okay, up until now I couldn't do it, right? Up until now you had to be trained on the app. And it sounds strange to us that it's just an app, but people who are there's a ton of people, businesses out there who you cannot change to your needs, right? Most of our merchants, like a long tail of merchants today, we can't serve because they have no printer. Right, and all digital shipping needs a
printed
label.
Printed
right?
label. Yeah.
Okay, what can you do now? Plus, it requires data entry that a lot of people can't do. So people have been telling us, can I just write it on the parcel, right? And can you solve it somehow? So I'm just saying, there's all of these potential.
God, you mentioned AI.
Yeah.
You did release an AI model as well. Tell me more about that.
So I think, like all things technology,
So it's called
right?
Shunya?
Yeah. So like all things technology, we, starting with me and then over time my entire company now, as soon as GPT 3.5 came out, 2 years I think now, immediately got onto the key. This can change a lot of what we do. Of course, it was still early days of AI then. And then over time, there was this whole, could we become an AI company for SMEs? So the first cut that we took was to partner with a proprietary models company called UltraSafe. And he said, okay, what if we launched an SME first model itself? And 3 months into the launch, we realized that this is not what we want, because the models themselves
OpenAI can't keep up with Anthropic, so
exactly. So there's a fight. You don't want to be in that fight, right? Going back to first principles, that okay, do I have a moat in this? I don't even have a right to play in this. So what am I doing here? Because I have distribution, I can get SMEs to pay for the model. I was not wrong. All I'm saying is, sure, but they're not going to pay for a sovereign model. They're going to pay you more for sure. They might pay you less, right? So what do you want to do, right? Do you want to make a model or you want to make a use cases? So I think some way or the other, that really helped us to put it out there. And then over time, said, okay, we do want to give AI to SMEs. So we want to democratize AI the way we democratize commerce. And to democratize AI, what is needed? So that's the thought process we are on now. That, in the future, I believe a lot of our merchants is operations. It can be automated. A lot of their employees can become AI employees. And I know the first thought that pops into people's mind is that, well, is there a job loss? I'm thinking, well, there might be in some cases, but really what's going to happen is the typical archetype of a merchant is a company with 5 people. It's not like they're going to fire people. They'll get more capabilities, right? They'll be able to do the job of 20 people, hopefully. And hopefully that will grow their business, right? So I think, and obviously I'm biased to believe that, but I also genuinely believe it, right? Authentically believe that. That's the impact it's going to have on at least the community that we work with. Right, these 200,000 sellers that are on the platform. Now, how do I make it happen, right? Like I said, this is a problem. This is a North Star. We want them to be able to have digital employees where Rohin can text their copy guy, their, your media person, your, admin person. And these are not people, but they're AI.
agents.
connected into your business's data, your business's, I don't know, any context that you have and any systems that you use, right? So think of it this way. If a D2C brand today has 50, whatever, 10, 20, 30 employees running their business, and they're plugging into various SaaS tools, including Shiprocket, there is a future where those people's jobs are being done by agents who are infinitely more smart, right? Or at least augmenting their jobs. And you become the human in the loop, right? And your expertise now has got to be more about the human part of this, right? But I think the great thing is that it's really separating it's like I call it, like within tech, I'm saying it's taking the skin off the bones, right? Where you can see now that, okay, like it becomes very clear, right? Up until now, there was this bundling saying, okay, this guy knows a skill. I don't know how well they know the context, but because I need both, I will make an error or I will make do, right? Now the skills are gone. I'll be very honest. The skills are gone. Like you don't need skills anymore. Now all that's left is either the company's context, right? So do you have context that is proprietary, that only you have, which can be in the form of either like a second memory store or some. So if you're a healthcare company, for example, or if like for us, we have commerce graph that I don't think anybody else has. So if in the future an LM is going to serve a product, they want to know the governance of the product, that what's the fulfillment rate, what's the NPS, what's the RTO, how's this merchant. I don't think there is a good parallel to us in India who is the right guy to surface this, because there is nobody else sitting there, right? Because there's nobody else in Switzerland. So nobody else has the data, right? We are in such a position that we end up having all the data and we play a role. So I think that's the, like for us, that continues to be the next bridge there to say, okay, like what do we build so that our merchants can use their context in their company in an easy way, right? They don't have to pay US dollar pricing, right? Because $25 may seem cheap in the US. It's not cheap in India. Right? It's not cheap in India for somebody who's doing a shoestring like business in the early days. And they are the ones who need it most, by the way, right? So how do you solve this, right? And how do you bring AI into their hands? So I think it's going to be very exciting because, the sort of screenless operations or screenless task that AI can do just on a WhatsApp, that's the future. Like that's what we are imagining, that SMEs will be on on their favorite communication channel, and 50% of what they do today will likely be done by agents easily, right?
So do you folks have open source models that you kind of use, proprietary models? What do you do?
So what we did is, after that initial launch, we actually shut it down a few months out, because we realized that, okay, this is not the way things are going to head. We need to become the enablers again of applied AI. So we're quite clear that, okay, we are going to use the models and clap when a new model comes out, right? Rather than fearing that, right? So how do we design ourselves so that our business gets better as the technology on the models gets better? That was the first kind of thought process. And that involved us obviously re-architecting our process. And honestly, we are using off-the-shelf models, whether it's Qwen or like any of the, everything from a DeepSeek to a Qwen to a bunch of paid models, right? Claude, we're using everything, to be honest with you, for different kinds of workloads.
Got it.
We also built our own voice model, by the way, by the name of 22. Still in beta, it's not really launched yet. Because our belief was around the time we were doing Shunya. So we kind of pivoted that into just a voice model that we own, right? So this is a voice model where the only job of that voice model is to be indicized, right? And cheap. Not good. Means it's got to be decent, right? So it's
you don't need to speak long paragraphs and sentences. You just need to be able to understand the transactional
You need to be able
statement.
to understand the commerce language only. Don't say poems on Hindi. Right. Understand transactional language, right? But be dirt cheap, correct? And because we sit on all this call center voice data of our own, essentially we just use that and we build, you can literally try it, right? You can, it's live now at 22.in. It's the first builder where you can, in India, where you can go and essentially describe your use case in text. It writes up a flow for you that you can then edit, right? With chatbot, and then you can publish it live with the phone number you can pick right there, correct? So it's like fully self-serve. It's got soon going to get MCP, so you can play with it. And the key point
What's
is...
your view of agentic commerce in the context of delivery?
I think it's a really important one, right? And I see us playing two roles there, right? One role is obviously at the point of the merchant to help them get into the discovery of agentic commerce. So, is their catalog being listed on Google, on Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, etc.? Is it being listed correctly? right? Are they getting the governance signals, the health signals, right? Which will have them show up above another guy or another listing over time, and so on, right? Do they have an app like ChatGPT has a private app? So the bunch of these, so discovery and like discoverability, let's say, is one aspect. So that's continuously like we're figuring out what is there to be done, right? There's like the SEO market has become now AIO, GEO, they are calling. So there's a bunch of things that can be done for discovery, and the chatbots and the LLMs want it too. So that's part one. Part two is closing the transaction, where you need an agentic layer. So we, like I said, are the only other open sort of checkout and delivery company as one, where we do take ownership, right? So I'm crores of catalog items on an API. Think of it this way, right? Where you tell me, hey, Saahil, I want this cup, right? Through an API instruction, that's it. Like I take over at that point and say, okay, I asked the buyer for money, he didn't give it. I went to COD, this happened. Didn't deliver, comes. So I'm the owner of that transaction where I can close it, right? And I can give you the money back. I can give you the item back or your money that I got it for you, right? So that capability, right? How do you take it into the new agentic rails that, whether it's Google's ACP or UCP or a bunch of these new protocols coming out. So we are so we've got the rails ready, right? But we don't know what to integrate with yet because it's not happened yet.
It's
right?
one more of those things which is still a little ahead of its time.
100%.
Right? Like
so we are just sitting, waiting for some of these guys to launch in India. The only thing I want to add there is that, I think one mistake people are making is they're thinking when it becomes agentic, it's going to change consumer behavior. It's not going to change consumer behavior. It's not. If you are going to browse and shop, you are going to browse and shop. You're not going to ask an agent to browse for you, right? When you're done and you want to now kind of conduct the transaction, that's the only piece I think Indians will give out to the agent, and that will also take some time. So I just think that we got to be like, who is going to get disrupted because of this is a question to ask more first principles, right? Because buyer behavior is not suddenly changing because agents have come into the world, right? And the joy of shopping or the joy of discovery, like people today also are spending that time, and that's not going to change, right? It's only for the commodity stuff where I feel that, or the repeat commodity stuff where it's like, yeah, it's just a no-brainer. Just order it.
Got it. Is there a part of your job you wish you didn't have to do?
Yeah, but I can't say it. See, I'm a builder at heart, right? And I'm a trained business professional also, having done these 14 years of work, and having dealt with all kinds of people. So, I continue enjoying the building process the most. Let me put it this way. And by God's grace, we're in a position where I've got really senior professionals with me from the industry, who teach us also how to run scaled operations and run a scaled team and how do you manage all this. So luckily we, like as founders, get to enjoy that kind of freedom almost, where we can continuously innovate, right, the next thing, and we can have teams of people who can scale the business, right, to the next level.
Got it. When one of your colleagues comes to you with a problem, like which could either be a slip deadline, shoddy product, someone's resignation, how do you decide when you're going to get involved or when you're going to like have someone else deal with it?
See, typically the culture in the company is such that if they have come to me, then I need to get involved. Okay. Otherwise, people will not come to me. Okay. Because we have a very open culture. There is no need to follow the ranks or whatever. But open culture means open both ways. So no feedback is minced, and both ways. So people, I think, realize that there is very little vanity, in any of this. So if somebody is genuinely missed and they are stuck and they've tried the different colleagues around them and they don't know what to do and then somehow reach me, then they will get the help from me at that point. I will not say, oh, this is not the route. It's not something I'm having to deal with. Are you getting my point? It's not as if everyone's walking in my door then, and I've never had to define like who should and who shouldn't. So it's a solved problem, and everyone's expected to do it, by the way. Right? Everyone's expected to drop what they're doing. Somebody comes to you, of course, within like normal bounds, and then you got to help them out. Like, don't add somebody else saying, okay, go talk to them. Well, you do it. You do the talking, solve the problem, right? Don't pass it on.
Got it. Have you changed your mind over your career about how people should be managed or like to be managed?
Not really. I think I've just gotten sharper, where my hypothesis is some of them have gotten proven.
What is it? What are your hypotheses around managing people?
Yeah, I don't think anybody can manage people. it's a mistake, right, to think like that. Because when I used to be in my job, right, I used to think the same thing. That my manager is a great guy but does nothing. Like, what if he didn't have me? Like, how would he manage us, right? And then I realized he's just really good at hiring people like us. That's it. He doesn't actually have to manage us, right? So the big insight for me is a great manager. Don't get me wrong. So I think I tried to somewhere, and I had been on the other side, right? So I tried to keep that till date, right, intact, saying, okay, I actually can't make you work because you're not like a machine where I can't push people to work. I can excite you enough.
Great. Let me ask you the then follow-up question. How do you get talented people to work for you?
Yeah. So I think we are very clear about, I like to think, strong filter in terms of who comes in and who goes out, right? And at least that's a big part of my full-time, not job, but back of my head, like full-time thinking, right? Because I believe that in my company, the only real IP is my people. There's nothing else, right? So how do I design an organization which is also like a platform? That's at least what I'm aspiring to do, where if, somebody wants to work for us, they are actually working for themselves. And I think that is the real challenge as you scale. Like, how do you make sure that stays, right? Because you can't interview everybody. So how do you make sure that it gets translated down the ranks and, so something that you're continuously working.
How do you do that?
It's very tough. Like I said, you first, it's been 5 years since we started ramping up the team, and I think we're still 6 on 10. Culture can always be better. I just don't think we're there yet. But I think that it's at least we've learned which buttons lead to what. Earlier, it was something we never had to do because it was literally 200, 300 people and we knew everybody. Like,
how many are you today?
About 1,500, 1,400, 1,500.
What sort of people don't end up succeeding at
so I think
Shiprocket?
Coming back to the earlier and sort of this question. So I think when we hire people, right, we're always looking for, do you feel any excitement for this space or not, right? We don't like to hire people for jobs, which is why it sounds strange and it's not some gyan I'm giving here on the podcast. Genuinely, I believe in this, right? And as much as possible, hopefully it's holding up in the company as well, where I like to find people who sort of know what they want to do. And hopefully we have our job description allows for them to do that. And as long as that matchmaking happens, they thrive. Because, you only get good at what you like to do. You will never be good at what you don't like to do. I know it sounds trivial, but there's so many people, like, even now when I look at engineers, some of them are really just good programmers, but they may not be the best engineers, right? But you still had them because you needed programmers, right? Now it's like clear as day that, I don't need programmers. I need you to, do you not know the customer process? Well, what else do you know? Right? So they're stuck in the wrong job. And this is especially true in India, where everyone has supposed to become an engineer, not because they wanted to be. Correct? So some way or the other, I think as much as you can, right?
What do you tell your colleagues about this difference between what you studied or what you trained to be and what is it that you want to be? What
For me?
I mean, yeah, for you, I mean, but what do you tell others? Like, how to find that difference? Because that difference is not
very
obvious.
Apparent. So I think the company one is very tolerant to that kind of concept because, again, shuru se tha, look at us, right? Like, we never knew shipping or anything. We knew none of this, right, when we started the company. So we ourselves are, jeeta jata examples of saying, okay, like, I know this shit at all. And today I can talk like an expert because I've been there, right? Because I enjoyed it. Right? We all, and whenever we did something out of some other pressure that, this is trending, this will get us money, blah, blah, we always failed. You know why? Because we just didn't want to do it. So I just think that having seen that upfront and closely and having come back into,
But how do you assess this when you're interviewing someone?
I think you can, right? So we have a process where for example, we give a clean slate question to everybody saying, okay, what if you could do anything? Not in this company, anything in your life, what would you do? Sometimes you get to see the person, I would love to run a business, right? Or I would love to be in charge of a big team. Even if you get to know their aspirations, right? You come to know that, this guy might be into management. Maybe we should put them on that track. So we kind of have certain tracks and we genuinely believe in building careers. Because I believe that, we are a company that has always been about how can I help this business do better. So that's the DNA of the company, right? So when it comes to our employees or team members, it's kind of the same thing that, okay, what can I give them, right, to be able to do something better rather than be like a, like running a shop with a tight.
This is why you said that we are trying to become a platform for employees as well.
100%.
Because in some senses, you're a platform
100%. I tell everybody, please come here to work for yourself and we'll benefit in the process, right?
What is that? How do you describe that?
See, it's ownership,
what
right?
is working for yourself?
First of all, it starts with ownership, right? It starts with your name on the shop, right? Which means a lot of things, which means you can't complain much, correct? Because it's your thing. I tell everybody, if it was your money on stake, what would you do? Many times people get stuck in some decision and say, okay, this guy didn't do it. And then you went home. If it was your money, would you do that? No, right? So we try to push a lot of that and not just say it, we genuinely mean it, which also then results in a lot of freedom, right? To make mistakes, to be wrong. We are very much break things and please do it fast, right? We continue to be that company because whenever you're innovating anything, you cannot really build a process till you know it's been done 100 times, right? So it's better to be early, better to learn early, and almost criminal to repeat that mistake. So in our company, you can do a mistake that costs the company any amount of money. You don't get like any rap on the, knuckles for that. But if you do it again, that's a big one because that's like, boss, you're not learning. So the whole system, goes for a toss because we give the freedom to people to be able to just go and do their own thing and deliver like it's their own as much as possible.
So the inverse of this question was, what sort of people over the years don't end up succeeding at Shiprocket and leaving? What is it about them?
I think the like I said, one big one that comes back to me is the belief in it's not a straightforward problem. It's not the most apparent one. It's not the most, like people have not faced it. Because it's a very, it's a merchant kind of problem. So many people just don't appreciate it enough, right? And when the first speed bump comes...
Is it empathy for the merchants?
Yeah, I think it's empathy, for sure. You have to love them. It's not only empathy. You got to love the customer. Not empathy. You have to love the customer, that every instance you get, you want to spend with them. Gautam and I and Akshay and, Vishesh, we all four came from small business families. So I don't know how to say it. It's very easy for us to, relate with our customer. And I think it's somehow it's not talked about enough. Like I genuinely believe, like when we're hiring when we're hiring our teams, right? This is a big one, that do you like the customer or do you hate them? Because if you hate the customer, we don't want you, please, right? So that's what I meant by saying you got to you have to feel for the customer, right? Then it becomes a challenge. There's a little bit of pride in not doing it for yourself. I'm not saying it in some philosophical way. There's just normal human behavior. I'm going to make this guy win, gives you more energy, and I'm going to win. Right? So I think some way or the other, that is the crux of the company, that we are here for these guys. And if they become a good business, right? Post-COVID, I had people coming and telling me that, and now we do these yatra events, as I told you, to hear these things where people tell us that, hey, I survived in COVID because you guys were there. Some things like that, right? And then that makes your day. Like, okay, we're on to, we're doing something. Koi baat nahi, growth slow hai. We're doing something meaningful for the world, right? For India.
How many direct reports do you have? What's your span of control?
So there's two categories. There's the CXOs or whatever. There's about, I want to say like 10 or 11. And then there's another 3 or 4.
So about 15.
Yeah.
What would most of them agree about you?
There's a bunch of things, I guess, right, that I can think of. I don't know. I'm a fairly boring guy. I like to come to office on time, and I'm kind of like, I'm fairly predictable in that sense, because I just love going to work. I love going to my office, and there's no other reason, to be honest. I'm excited on Monday. I'm excited every day. What's the next big challenge? So
slightly sharper version of that question. What might be the most common 3 adjectives that they use to describe you?
I don't know, actually, because I think I can describe myself. I really don't know. I actually don't know what they...
Don't tell me you don't have a sense of awareness, self-awareness of what your direct reports think about you.
So I think they would call me authentic, right? Because that's what I am. And I learned it over the years to not mince words, because it just doesn't lead to anything good.
Got it.
Because better to talk feedback or whatever. So I'm very authentic in terms of what I feel. even if it means within 2 minutes completely doing a 180 on something I was pitching 5 minutes ago, right? I'm happy to admit that, oh no, I was wrong, right? It's okay. And then my org also feels comfortable. Like, okay, it's not like, it's okay to make mistakes, right? So I think being authentic definitely is something they'll agree on. I am extremely impatient, right? When it comes to output of the work, when it's already agreed. So when it's already agreed, got added 4-5 years ago. Earlier it was I'm just impatient, right? And I don't like, I cannot tolerate that somebody made a commitment and you don't follow through. It just, my brain goes for a toss. Like, how can you not follow through, right? So I'm big on like ownership and commitment, very big, because that's how I've lived my life. And I understand, I understand people at different ages, and I get all of that. I'm not trying to be like an ass here, but it's a big one for me, right? I hold people accountable where I do believe that with the right amount of empathy, I understand. But at the same time, because that's how the machine works. Everyone's got to do their bit. And if they don't do their bit, then the machine doesn't work. Then I got to do their bit, right? And you and I, we discuss, I don't want to do their bit. I don't enjoy it.
Got it. What are the pet phrases you're known for at work? In meetings, what might people hear you say at meetings or reviews or in the cafeteria?
I think, why can't it be faster? My pet question, right? Why is it taking so long? Like, how many hours of work is it really? That one they hate. Like, you do it, right? So, but it just helps them think better. That's all, right? It helps people think better. And I do believe that speed trumps a lot of things, right? Speed gives you instant gratification. This Monday morning keeping me excited, it comes from, okay, what is the next problem I'm going to kill, right? Speed gives you fast results, so that even if you make a mistake, you're not wasting an opportunity cost. Your people are not being paid for that long. Like, it's a lot of things come from like being fast, right? So I think that is my big one where I'll keep on pushing the org, myself, and the company, everything, right, towards trying to deliver faster.
Okay, let me switch to life outside of work. What are your hobbies or interests outside of work?
So I've had phases, like where I've gone deeper into one thing, then came out kind of thing. I wouldn't say tech is my hobby anymore because it's like my life now. But I love playing the guitar, not so much of a singer I can, but more of a guitarist than a singer. Now my daughter plays, right? So it's great.
How old is she?
She's 13.
You said your son is 8.
8, yeah.
Got it.
So it's great to kind of...
What guitar do you play?
I have a Fender Stratocaster. I used to have I have two of them now. So Gotham gifted me one a few years ago, which I wouldn't buy because it was expensive. And then I bought one in college, like a used one. Then I got a...
What sort of music do you play?
Yeah, so initially with rock, right? So classic rock, like Pink Floyd, whatever. All guitarists have this like 100 songs they play. Wonderwall, Hotel California, whatever. But then over time, obviously, started like, playing anything, like everything from...
Or which is the song that you play that makes you most proud, where you feel that, you know what, that's not a very common song, that's not a very easy song.
I can play Stairway to Heaven, including... Okay, so I'm not going to say I can play the solo. I used to say it till my daughter figured it out, and now she's told me that, no, you played all wrong. Like, that's not how it's played. Right? So I think...
Do you play by the ear or do you
I
learn by the ear?
Yeah, I just learned like... So I got trained on playing the harmonium. I used to be singing classical music in school. So I got trained on that when I was younger. Till like 6th, 7th grade when I realized that, oh, this is not cool at all, right? Plus, it's form factor wise, you can't carry the damn thing, right? So I switched to the guitar, which I just picked up, to be honest, right?
And a Spanish guitar at first?
Yeah, I got the acoustic, right? There's an Indian company called Gibson.
Yes.
So I got that. Then kind of learned it for a couple of years, just chords or whatever over the internet, just pulling it up. And then I got into school band, I think in 9th. And that's when my friends, like my school...
The school festival circuit.
They started teaching me, and then it became a thing. Oh, you got to perform here, go to DPS Mathura Road. We were a boys' school, so they were a co-ed school. So
I studied at DPS Mathura Road.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
94.
Okay, a little bit older than me.
Yes.
So I graduated in 2001. So this was 99.
Yeah.
And you all, I don't know what it's called. There was
I forgot.
It was a music competition, and it was like a stage. You had a big Maidan, and there were like thousands of kids there from all schools. So it was pretty cool. So we did a bunch of those things. So yeah, I mean, that's how I got into guitar. But I always loved music. Like since I was a kid, I was into music big time, any kind of music, and still am, right? I'm big on music. I go for concerts now a lot with my daughter.
If you had to recommend just one album, just one, which one would you recommend?
So my personal
Yes,
favorite
what would you
for
listen to?
listening is Pink Floyd, right? I just
Which specific Pink Floyd album?
That's hard, man. Because
So okay, so you can come back and answer this question. You can even
I
answer
think
it
Dark
later.
Side.
But
I would say Dark Side of the Moon is
Alright.
my favorite, simply
Got it.
because the lyrics are they're all, I guess, meaningful, but these ones actually made sense, and and the music is it's very melodious. It's very listenable music.
You have a dog called Bruno.
Yeah.
You call him your chief happiness officer.
Yeah, we did it in the news. We don't actually call him that, but he is that for sure. He's with us in the office, and yeah, he's great. He's I guess he's the most unconditional loving person in the office, because loving creature, I guess I call him a person. He's also a mini person in the office where he doesn't care how the numbers are. He doesn't care how the OKR meeting went. He's always just there.
Oh, you mentioned OKR. So
Yeah.
you run on
Yeah,
OKRs.
yeah. So
How long has it been since you adopted OKRs?
Great question. So earlier I just read about it. It didn't make any sense to me. 5-6 years ago, I was like, same hi to lag raha hai. Right, what's the big deal? And honestly, I actually took a couple of sessions with Binny Bansal's 10x Academy.
Extra 10, yeah.
X to 10x Academy, sorry. And actually didn't do the thing. Sorry, Sai Ki, if you're listening to this. But I got what I wanted out of those sessions. And I said, I get it now. I understand what has to be done. And I think for a company like ours, it was very important because we've got multiple parts, right? And the OS or a network business is going to be like that. There will be things at 0 to 1. There will be things at -1. There will be things at 10 and things at 100. All together, right? And this was starting to happen in 2021, 22 when we were starting to go from mono product to multi-product, multi-category, blah, blah, blah. So I think that is the time when I started feeling the heat of saying, how do I keep everyone aligned? And people are telling, why are we doing this? When you told us I was like, yeah, but we've elevated, right? We're thinking of this now. So how do I go around clarifying to everybody? It's very tough. And then people don't understand how it comes together. So that became the moment I said, no, we need some kind of easy communication tool, which is easy enough so the company can understand it, but has a cascading effect detailed enough so we can roll it up, right?
When did you implement it and how many cycles did it take?
I think
for
it took us 2-3
stabilize?
years for it to become meaningful, to the point where this year, I haven't actually written it out, even though everyone exactly knows what it is, because we kept getting better at it. And now no, I'm not going to just write it. Because end of the year when I review, we only did 6 out of 10, which is okay. But can we get sharper at this? Can we define the inputs behind each of these? So we're taking a time this year to really go through the stuff so we can measure. See, it is nothing but a expectation alignment tool, right? At any given point for the entire org, right? So I think that's a good one. Just to every month say, okay, here's where we're heading, or every quarter, here's where we're heading. This is the next year's plan. And here are the inputs. I think that's the other big one, where early, when you have a younger business, just measuring the outputs is good enough. Because in your head, you know the levers. But as things become more complex and you lose sight of, as things become bigger, I think the input measurement becomes as important, if not more important. Because see, the output coming from the input by the time you've
Give
scaled.
me an example of some inputs.
Give example. So for example, if you say, okay, you need to deliver 100 rupees in revenue growth, right? Where does that come from? That comes from you adding more business, or you growing the existing business, or you ensuring your churn is lower, right? Now, each of these three can have tons of inputs, which means that up until few years ago, it was good enough to say this. My sales will be here, my churn will be here. Okay, but how will it be there? Because things have gotten complex, right? Where, okay, there are now another 5 things below churn. You can have 5 initiatives, but which one are you doing? And how do you measure those, right? So I think it starts to really come together well if you design it well, and it gives results. Right? So we saw it give results last year and the year before. That's why we are so intentful, or getting intentful every year, that how do we do this exercise? Let's not do it as a tick in the box just to get it done. Mota, let's not do it. Let's be sharp about it. Even if it's a couple of months late, it's okay. And at least it'll have a meaning. So every year we do it slightly differently, I guess, because we learn from what worked and what didn't. But I swear by it. I think it's best thing that happened to us.
Got it. How do you learn outside of your work and from what your customers are telling you?
I think a lot of reading, just in terms of a lot of learning from others. Let me put it this way. This could mean just LinkedIn as well, especially with AI, right? I'm following a few people, podcasts, right? Bunch of podcasts on some of the earlier, like, US companies or whatever. I really enjoy that to kind of understand that how did Louis Vuitton become big, or, what did Sony do in the early days, and, post-war in Japan. Like, there's all these stories of businesses where you can just stand on their shoulders and learn. There's so much out there, right? So I think that to me is a late realization, right? And like my investor, like Rajan, used to always tell me that why don't you? I think you have to make your own mistakes before you can take from others somehow. At least for me. And when I realized, I actually don't have to make every mistake. I can just learn from people who did it. It just, again, sounds trivial, but it wasn't, like, it's not when you're in that zone. Really started helping me. So I think my reading also changed then a little bit on non-fiction to, the other way around, right? So reading just stories or spiritual stuff or philosophy, which is something that interests me, to actually stories of people and businesses and companies and what they
If you had
did.
to recommend one book from that,
I think for me, there's a couple books that really, like, I swear, like, not swear by, but I guess, like, it really helped me, right? The one I recommend to everyone is called Loon Shots, right?
by Safi Bakal.
Yes, it's a great
Why?
book. Yeah, I was living it in the moment. So complete, like, I read it twice because there were lessons in there that I could just, like, go into office, look smart and say, oh, you know what, we're going to do this from today. It gave me validation. Let me put it this way. Because I was struggling with this, my favorite topic in MBA was this Clayton Christensen's, innovator's dilemma. I really got impressed with the, mini mill, because my dad used to run steel manufacturing. He was a mini mill. He used to run a recycled scrap, rebar production unit in North Delhi, right? So when I read about US Steel, 'cause I went to Pittsburgh, and US Steel was based in Pittsburgh, and they like to teach that case study in MBA because, yeah, it's US Steel, right? And they got disrupted by all of these, like, recycled steel mills, and they just didn't see it coming. Kodak didn't see it coming. I think that's a huge impression on me somewhere, right? That, oh, this is, like, amazing. Like, I want to go be this disruptor to somebody, till we became big. And I was like, then I got scared. I started getting paranoid that, oh, who's disrupting us, right? So I think that thought or that paranoia really helped. I was looking for, oh, where's the bomb going to come from, right? Or where's the next kind of fire coming from? And ultimately, I wanted to systematize it. How do I can't keep doing this, like, ad hoc. Like, what happens when the company becomes 10 times the size? I think somewhere that book's framework really helped. Like, they talked about how the 0 to 1 and the 10 to 100 are just different, like, rhythms of life. And companies who can incorporate both rhythms in the same organization can succeed long term. Now, this is, trust me, it is far more difficult done than said. And every company will be different. I have, like, some founders will be.
And this applies to people also. Not everyone who's great at or enjoys 0 to 1 may enjoy 1 to 100
Actually,
or
that's
1
the
to
key
10.
It is a key thing, what you just said. It is, I wish I knew. So it is largely about people. So what is your, like, here's how I used to think that, okay, I've got my best team on the thing that works. It's scaled. It's going to scale.
Move them between 0
It's going to
to 10.
scale more. No, I don't want to touch this, na. This is the roti, and this is, like, now running the show. Let me hire some junior guys to try out. I couldn't have been more wrong, right? So new stuff failed first, right? Because I put the most junior people or, like, the least time on it. If it works, we'll invest. It's not like that, right? You got to first commit. And it becomes hard when you have a running franchise that's growing and spitting off cash, You want to put
because the tension is you want to put your best people to the
and that's the
most
advice
predictable
too.
business.
That's the advice too from everyone. Say, no, like,
quote unquote, the cash cow.
Yeah, why are you getting distracted? Like, I don't know, because merchants want this. Yeah, but this is what makes money. Until when? Like, that kind of thing. So I think that was hard to get out of in the beginning. For us, forget anybody else. And then once we did agree that, no, we're going to do this, we will build multiple products out of this. How do you do it? Who does it? Do we do it? Do we hire? Like, it's a lot of questions, and we made a lot of mistakes, right? But because I read that book at that time, and it became a thing versus me not realizing is happening to me. Get what I'm saying? You can do it with your eye without being conscious that, oh, come, let's do this, versus, no, wait. I read this. this can screw us. Let's make sure we are intentful about it. It really helped. Really helped because I was observing and I was putting hypotheses together that kept winning or failing. And till I got, for example, when we built Shiprocket cross-border or Shiprocket X, first we tried building it like a category. And we do domestic shipping and courier, put one person, let's start integrating. Okay. We integrated and the business went nowhere. I was doing 5,000 orders a month for 2-3 years. It was a category nahi hai, dam nahi hai isme, right? It's partially true. For what we had built, yes, there was no market, right? But Akshay, like for example, as a co-founder, then, when we couldn't do it in this model, then we said, no, you should kind of dedicate yourself to doing this. Because I think this is a whole new world happening here where in 10 years, India is going to manufacture stuff and our disposable income will grow. Those products will have a big market. So let's start laying the rails from today, right? And today we have a thriving sort of, a cross-border vertical because we put a whole founder behind it, right? For example, Gautam, who 2 years ago started building hyperlocal, because I realized that, or we realized as a company that that's the next kind of, last mile is the next big, fast last mile is the next big one. So it cannot, so I think it's being intentful about it, like I said, because you can do an execution of something multiple ways. And the other big one that the book talks about is almost physically isolating the two camps, right? That's actually another big one that people miss, that you became big as a company, you have all these processes, right? In terms of onboarding, hiring, leave applications, smallest of things. But since we've done the 0 to 1 and we know the kind of people that want to do 0 to 1, they don't like all this. They don't thrive in process, right?
It's also in some ways that concept of individual contributors don't necessarily always want to become managers.
But how do you do it in the same company? Same office, same building, salary, like there's all of this stuff, right? Which over time, I think we had to figure out and try and do. And many other companies have done it too. Like I know, like if you look at Amazon, for example, the perfect example of just continuously doing it even now, right? Eternal or Zomato, next big example, big influence on us, huge influence, right? Continuously doing it. So I think there are learnings and, you can learn from them as well. But then I think this is in India especially, what ends up happening is one deep vertical doesn't make you a $50 billion company. There's not enough to go around. Simple as that. So you end up locking onto, in the cross section, a category, then trying to win all customers, or a customer and then trying to win all categories. Not just us, any business in India, because the depth isn't there. The aspiration is more than the market allows you to do. So this problem, and to deal with it, I think Indian companies have to do more of it than their Western counterparts, because there, one vertical depth alone can give you $10 billion because there's enough market depth to kind of suffice, right?
So what you're really saying is that Indian companies need to evolve better org structures or ways of working in order to confront the reality of.
I think they should be. The only thing I will leave is that I think they should expect it. I think that's the one that
Expect what?
They should expect as they scale that they will have to do this. Because I think lots of time people don't realize it.
The default growth won't work.
Yeah, or you do what you think is common sense. Like we did that mistake, and then later on, like when I read this book, I was like, shit, it's written here. It says what to do.
All right. What's the other book? You said 2 books you said you'd recommend.
The bunch of other ones. I think the one that I started reading as we were thinking about going public was it's called Outlier, right?
Yep.
Where it's not Outlier. I'm forgetting the name. It's not Outlived either. That's a different one.
That's a different. That's Peter. That's a different one.
I'm gonna get. I'll come back with the name. Where that book, and I went through half of it only. But again, big like eye opener, where it talks about the US public market and a bunch of these companies in the past and the CEOs on how they ran their company when it was public, right? One TV station story is there, like how he kind of did his to improve his EPS, just bought back the stock and stuff like that. So somebody who's going to be in the bourses in the coming years, right? I just thought that book was great. It tells you these stories about.
Once you remember it,
it's not Outliers, because that's a different book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
no,
get
don't worry. We'll include it in the show notes. And what about a recommendation from the category that you moved away from, which you said is philosophy and reflection? And do you meditate?
I don't meditate in the sense that but I've been.
You reflect.
Yeah, I have my own thing. I go running.
Got it.
That's my kind of.
And that's your zone.
Yeah, I'm gone for like 40 minutes. I put on my music and then. Yeah, and I think I used to read a lot of philosophy back in the day from undergrad, and then some concepts stayed with me. I don't think there's a book that I can recommend, because like there used to be like I forget the name. Jonathan, like the seagull.
Jonathan.
Very like, but they're all like, airport books. I'll be honest, they're not like those books where very common books. Is not unique in any way.
Got it. So you've made that transition now to the business.
Yeah, more or less.
But are you a journey motivated person or a goals motivated person?
I think everybody is a goals motivated person, but the journey is what you show up for. For me, right? I feel depressed after I reach the goal because then I'm like, what now? So I mean, maybe that answers your question. So maybe I am journey motivated. The excitement is the trip, right? You show up for the trip because like that's where all the fun is. Like that's where, the twists and turns, like that's where the excitement is.
Got it. Last question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your life?
Good, like whatever, 7, 8.
You can only give me one number.
8.
All right. Thank you, Saahil. Great conversation. Thanks for taking the time out.
Likewise.
And I look forward to that book recommendation from you.
Likewise, Rohin. Pleasure meeting you, and thank you for having me.
If you've been a long-time listener to this podcast and are glad we're back, do tell the world by sharing this episode with everyone you think will find it valuable. This is me, Rohin Dharmakumar, signing off. We'll be back soon with another episode.